I will record class every week. Mostly if you guys could just be like, hey, are you recording? So that I don't forget, because sometimes I forget. Things are just so interesting. We start talking and then I forget to hit record. If you are absent, you can watch the class recording and then write a one-page summary by the time the next class starts. So by next Tuesday, and then that erases the absent. So if you don't do that, you get one free absence, and then everyone after that is a full letter grade reduction, which is a lot, but we only meet once a week. So if you miss a week or 2 weeks in a row, that's a lot of content, and so we don't want to do that. So please watch the recordings if you want to get rid of those absences, and then you'll have all the knowledge that you need to have. All right, back to sharing. Syllabus. So half of our syllabus is posted in the syllabus section of Canvas, and that's because doesn't format nicely with our little tables and stuff, but our Zoom link will always be there. It's the same link every week. So if you don't remember it or whatever, you can always come to our syllabus link page here and find the link to class right there. We do have a required book, or suggested required book, whatever. The block book, you really need to do it because there's readings pretty much every week assigned out of it. But there are no tests in this class, but the block book is the key to this class in terms of learning how to do consulting. And so if you don't get it, then it's going to be a little bit difficult to follow along in this class. This class is project-based, and it's one big, huge project. And a lot of the stuff in the book helps contribute to that project. So without it, life would be a little bit difficult. The standards of practice, the little 3-ring binder that you have to buy from ATRA, that would be the other component of this. If you can't get it or whatever, if you have an old version, you can use an old version. In-person people, I've got 2 copies. You can borrow them from me if you need to. For whatever reason, you can't get that. We always recommend the APA manual. It will help with all of your writing. It's such a handy dandy little thing. Man, it did a double or a triple. Wow, my syllabus is in there 3 times. That's interesting. Yeah, that is weird. I'll go and fix that. If you downloaded the syllabus prior to today, you're going to want to go back and re-download a new version because somebody brought to my attention that one of the links on one of my days was broken, and so I had to go back in and fix the link, and so I did. So download a new PDF. And on that note, I will pull up our PDF. Not that.
Can I rent this book in the bookstore for like $30 bucks?
Ooh, from the Clemson bookstore?
Yes.
Nice.
Shipping was $12.
You what?
The shipping for the standards of practice was $12. The book was only $28, but the shipping is $12.
That is kind of not surprising.
It's like the shipping for the books.
Yeah. Interesting. Like I said, I've got 2 if you guys in person people want to check them out and borrow them, but I will kind of monitor that just so that they're available for everybody. All right, here is our syllabus, all that normal information in the beginning. This is mostly, in comparison to some of our other grad classes, a little bit more lecture-like and a little bit less like discussion like the other classes are. We will have some PowerPoints in this class, and that's okay. So the doctoral students will get an opportunity to teach in this class for those of you who are online, and so you guys can put together a presentation like PowerPoint style or Prezi or whatever and use that in class. So all of those PowerPoints will be uploaded every week. And again, there's no quizzes or tests in this class, but all of that, it's just a content heavy class, and so it's easier to present some of that information in a PowerPoint and just have it be available all the time. Okay, there's lots of other supplemental readings, articles, lots of articles every week. Yay, articles. All of them are already up on Canvas. In the files, there's a folder called course readings. All of them are in there. And they're all listed right here as well. So you got all of those. So let's start looking at the assignments really quick. We're going to talk later about just consulting in general, and I'll give you a lot more details about the big project, but you'll see the components here. So participation, come, be engaged. This is a fun class. I took this class as a doctoral student. I loved it. It is, again, project-based. Every assignment goes towards that project except for like 2. So it's a lot. There will be check-ins throughout the semester on your progress on that big project. But it's a very fun project, and it could turn, if for anybody who's interested in doing this, it could turn into a publication potentially. So doctoral students, if you want, that option, and anybody else who wants to publish something off of this, that could potentially happen as well. We will have in-class commentaries or reading commentaries or whatever. So some of you posted for today. There's only 6 that are graded, but we have readings every week. So you choose which 6 that you want. I will try to incorporate those questions and comments every week into our class discussion. And then doctoral students, on the day that you teach, I will send you the comments and questions that students have posted so that you kind of have that and you can incorporate that into your however you're going to teach that day. On that note, doc students, be thinking as you look through the syllabus, the course schedule today, which day you want to teach on, because you get to choose your topic that you teach. So if there's anything that's really like, I must teach that, let me know, and you guys can duke it out if there's something that you guys want that's the same. Okay, so the in-class commentaries are roughly
Jasmine?
like each.
Sorry.
So make sure that they're worthwhile comments and not just like, hey, this is nice. Or not just a summary of what was in the reading, but actual application to what we're talking about. And if you have questions, put it in there. Concerns about not understanding things, that would be good to put in there. So our big project will start with an MOA, a memorandum of agreement. It's like a contract. This establishes all the parameters of the project and who's involved and all of that. This is a very key piece of what we're doing, so it happens pretty much up front. I'll give you feedback on it, and then you'll get it signed by whoever you're doing your project with. We'll have 2 project updates over the semester. One, I think they're both in October, like one at the beginning, one at the end, or something like that. At the very end, you will provide a written report and whatever the deliverable product is out of your consulting project. So if you establish that you will produce some type of executive summary, there's got to be an executive summary. If it's an outline of a program or an entire fully developed program, you've got to have all of that fully developed. So keep that in mind when you choose your project, that you don't do something that's not feasible in our very short time frame. But whatever it is you say you're going to produce in the course of this project, you've got to have by the end of the semester. And so that's the written consultation report and deliverable. There will be a professional project presentation. So basically you're going to be working with an organization to develop something or do something or analyze something or evaluate something. And hopefully you should have some type of presentation for them to say, this is what I did for you and how you could use it, and et cetera, and et cetera. So you'll do that in class. So a practice run in class, and that'll be your final exam week type of presentation. And everybody will give feedback. Maybe you should term it like this, or maybe you should change it like this, type of thing. Over the course of the semester, there will be 2 consulting interviews. So you will have to find a consultant somewhere out there in the world and interview them, find out what they do, how do they live their life, is it a full-time gig or a part-time or whatever. But there are questions in there, things to help guide you in doing that interview. So I would recommend that you start now looking for people who are consultants, and it doesn't have to be necessarily rec therapy. It could be consultants in anything. And if you're having struggles in getting those done, let's talk about it sooner rather than later, because I believe I identify the due dates of those. It's not like by the end of the semester. We'll go look at that. Doctoral students, so one time you'll be the facilitator for class, and then you also have a 3rd consulting interview to do. And this is specific, actually, you need to interview a faculty member who is a consultant. So some faculty members do consulting work outside of their work at the university and others don't. So you'll need to find somebody who does. In terms of the rec therapy group, Marika, myself, and Brent all do consulting work outside of our faculty life. And if you want to talk to somebody outside of our RT, that's fine too. but that'll be your third one. So that's it for the assignments. Everything, again, except for the interviews and your commentaries, goes towards that big project. Any questions so far? No?
Jasmine, can you hear me?
There's
Oh,
I don't think you can hear me.
thanks for monitoring the chat. It's hard for me to see it. Wait, is somebody putting something in the chat? Or did somebody raise their hand?
Tara was
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Are you typing or are you talking?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I didn't think you could hear me. The faculty interview, does that need to be faculty from Clemson, or can it be?
Wait. Okay, I don't know what happened. It went out. Okay, try again.
That was her computer.
hers.
Yeah, I turned
Was that my computer? Can you hear me okay now?
Nope, turn yours off. Everybody in class should have their mics muted. Try again, Tara.
The faculty
Nope.
interview?
Hang on. Hang on, I'm trying to think. It should come through our mics up here. I don't understand why it's not working. Okay, try again.
Okay, can you hear me okay? No?
Okay, try again.
How about now?
Ah. Hold on, I'm thinking in my brain all the things that could be going on. I just unplugged it because. Hang on. It's so weird because it was working for that split second. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Ah.
No?
Okay. Somebody else online start talking. Anybody? Bueller?
What's
Bueller?
up? What's up?
Online people?
Hello?
Nope, I can't hear anybody. I think Shelly was trying, but I can't
That
hear.
was me. I'm talking. I'm talking.
Hello.
we can hear each other.
I can hear people.
Hey.
I can hear Sandy. Okay, Tara, go. Now that's working. No? No? Still nothing?
Nobody's talking.
Are you talking, Tara?
No, can you hear me now?
Yes. Hang on.
That works?
It worked really well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so the faculty interview, does that need to be a faculty member from Clemson, or can that be another faculty member?
Faculty from anywhere.
From anywhere, okay. And then the classes that we're scheduled to teach, you've already decided on the topic, and we just choose which one?
Yes, the
Or
topic.
assigned?
Yeah, this topic's already established. You guys just pick what you want.
Okay, great.
All right, that's very loud and working well now. I have no idea why it wasn't working before, but let's jump back to the syllabus.
Oh, can I ask one more question?
Yes?
The interviews, it's just 3 total. And I only asked because I went on the first interview within Canvas for like information. It says 2 interviews under that 1 interview.
Yes. So right here, are you talking about in consulting interviews?
Yes, but it said in Canvas, if you click on interview 1, the assignment, it says 2 interviews.
Oh yeah, that's so master students have 2, doctoral students have that 3rd one. So for the master students, when you look at your grade book, it should only show 2 interviews. Doctoral students, when you look at your grade book, it should show 3.
Okay, but when we click on the 1, like the number 1, it should just ask, like in the description, it's asking for 2 interviews under interview number 1. Yes,
it should, but let me go look at what you're talking about in case I did something wrong. You're freaking me out here.
Sorry.
No, sorry. We're talking about in assignments, not in grades, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, so interview 1, and then description it says 2. I just want to make sure it's not I just want to know how many I have to do.
Yeah, good call right there.
Okay.
Yes, for you, 3. And Sandy and other Jasmine, 3. Everybody else, 2.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thanks for catching that. All right, go ahead.
How do you want us to present like the information that we get from our interviews? Like, I know like in paper form, but do you want us to follow APA or because it's
Well,
more
it's more, good question, and I would say it's more of like just a narrative, providing you with the information of who you talk to, where they work, that type of stuff, how long the interview was, but I don't need to see like transcripts or anything like that, but I don't expect that there would be any type of citations or in terms of APA format, and so just what did I say, a page or 2 or 3 or 1.
So they don't need to be transcribed?
Nope.
Excellent.
More, this is really just, I want to know the application of the information. So what they told you and how that has changed your perspective in some way about consulting. So I'll tell you, when I was a student in this class a long time ago, actually I was digging through my old files to find all of my old assignments from this class, and I couldn't find them anywhere. Don't tell Marie that. She's like, keep this stuff forever. Anyways. Couldn't find it, but I remember the person that I interviewed for one of my interviews said that he doesn't get paid all the time, so he'll get a consulting job and it'll be like 2 months worth of work and he'll get paid, and then he won't be working for 3 months. And I was like, what? How do people live like this, when you don't have a consistent paycheck all the time? And so stuff like that really changed my perspective of how I thought that I would be a consultant in doing this work. Now, as a faculty member with a full-time paying job, consulting is just your side job. But if that's what you want to be, then that's concerning that you don't get paid all the time. So just stuff like that and how it's impacting your perspective about consulting. All right, let's finish up our syllabus. Okay, assignments. You guys can look at what the expectations are on participation and what is good and not so good. I realize that it's hard being half online and half in class, but I think we could do it. I mean, shouldn't be new to too many people. I will point out on here, again, I think I already mentioned it, the attendance, you get 1 free one, and then after that it's a full letter grade. Just want to make sure that's clear. I also don't collect any late work, and you guys have had all of you in class before, my policy as to why there's just too many things going on, and late work gets everything, makes it all jumbled up, so please try not to turn anything in late. If you need any accommodations, let me know and we'll work it out and figure that out. Okay, so our tentative class schedule. It's pretty set in stone, but there might be some small things here and there that need to be flexed around. So here's the way this is set up is the topic of the day, and then anything in this column all the way to the right is what is due on that day. So these are not the readings for that next week. This is what is due when you come to class on September 12th in terms of readings. Same thing with the quiz. Make sure that's done by the time you come to class. And so this is where doctoral students, you guys can kind of skim through there and see if there are any topics in there that are really speaking to you. And if you want to jump out at that or think about it for a minute, whatever you want. In week 3, I will be at ATRA. Who else is going to ATRA? Okay, so a couple of you guys here. Lots of online people, which is great. So for those of you who are not going to ATRA, that's okay too. I won't hold that against you or anything. We won't have class that night. Or no.
I was going to say, I'm going to be on a plane probably that night.
Yeah. So right now it's scheduled that we will have class, but the schedule of the ATRA conference, stuff just came out. And Tuesday is my insane-o crazy day because I run the Research Institute, and I didn't know that it was going to align with class day when I made my syllabus. So again, this is where we need to have some flexibility. I really don't want to have to shift around a ton of stuff because we don't have any really open free days where we could, we have 1 flex week, but that kind of changes a lot of things around later in the semester. So week 3, tentative, I'll let you know based on how things are looking at ATRA, but we might have short class that night if and maybe we'll start a little bit later. I don't know. We'll just, tentative on that one. Look at that. Consultation interview is due September 19th. So it happens real fast. Okay, so does anybody have ideas about who they would interview already as a consultant? You do? Anybody online have any ideas of who you might interview as a consultant? A couple? Well, maybe after today, talking about what a consultant is might help you have some ideas of who you could talk to. We don't just want to grab any random person off of the street, but I am a little bit willing to be flexible on that too in terms of who you have access to. Okay, let's see what else. Your MOA, so the memorandum of agreement, the contract, is due really quickly as well. We'll talk about that more in detail over the coming weeks. And how to put one together. I'll give you a template-ish, kind of some examples of past MOAs that have been done, but they follow a pretty standard kind of template of what type of information needs to be in there. When you turn it in on September 26th, it is unsigned by you or your facility contact liaison, whatever. And that's because I'll give you feedback and we'll make changes to it. But as soon as it gets signed, that becomes like the contract, and there's a process to go through in terms of changing a contract. So, really, in for reals, it's real in this class, but when you have a real contract, that becomes a legal kind of binding document. So you don't want to sign that until everything is solid and good to go. So don't get it signed, just turn it in for feedback, and I'll turn it around quickly as I can. I will be at another conference in the beginning of October, and I do believe that I will have good Wi-Fi there and nothing going on that Tuesday night, and so we'll just be able to hold class. So in-person students just meet online. The week of October 17th, that is fall break, which is great because I will be out of the country, so we will not have class. And down into the second half of the semester, your second interview is due on Halloween. Feel free to dress up when you come to class. We may or may not have a costume contest where you might win a piece of candy. Written update too, also on October 31st. Sorry, the first written update is on October 10th, so just a few weeks in between there. But this is, as we talk about the project today, you'll see that there's going to be a lot of work in it, so it's not something that at all that you can wait till, I'll just wait a few weeks to start thinking about it, and then a few more weeks to start doing anything about it. It really has to start now. We do have one flex week in here, so we'll just kind of wait and see how class is progressing, and if we need to cancel for ATRA or whatever, we might shift all of our topics down one week and fill in that week. But yeah, I will be at another conference. So much travel this semester, guys. It's crazy. In November, and class will just be totally canceled on that one. I know that that is a conference that I will not be able to do anything that evening, mostly because I'm traveling that day. So, doc students, your last interview is due the week of Thanksgiving, and then we are right into the end of the semester. So luckily we have 2 weeks between Thanksgiving and final exams. Usually it's only like 1 week. So we have a little bit more breathing room between crunch time after the holiday. And we'll split our presentations over 2 weeks just so that we don't have to have like 5-minute presentations from everybody. We want good quality presentations. Final exam week, no test, obviously. It's just a presentation, and it's the same night, Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, just like normal class. Just about everything is due in terms of assignments to turn in at midnight on the day it's due, except for the reading commentaries. That needs to be by noon that day so that I can incorporate that into class. Any questions about assignments, or if you have questions about project stuff, hold that thought because we're going to talk about it in a lot more detail later. Everybody is writing, so I don't want to interrupt your writing.
Where are we supposed to post the commentaries? Like, will you on Canvas, like post the discussion and then we like start a feed?
No, it's already in, if you go to assignments, it's already listed in here as reading commentary, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. So just post, if it's your first one, but you don't post your first one until 3 weeks into the semester, it goes into reading commentary number 1, not reading commentary number 3. Because only like half of the week of the semester's commentaries are graded, it was not as easy to do like a discussion thread type format. And blah, it's got to be like this.
So we could do like all 6 in a row if we wanted.
And then nothing for the rest of the semester. Still have to do the readings, but you don't have to do the commentaries. Yeah. You could do that. Or you could save them all to the end of the semester. Or, you know, get creative and go like 1 on, 2 off, 1 on, 2 off, whatever. You'll see all the other assignments are already entered into Canvas. So these do have due dates. If we have to end up shifting topic days down because of canceling for ATRA in a couple weeks, the assignment due dates will stay the same. For the project stuff, it's just the discussions each week, those topics will shift. And I'll update the syllabus and re-upload it and everything. So I think that's it though, in terms of assignments and Canvas. Everything is already set up in Canvas for you to be able to upload documents to it. If you come across something, I'm pretty sure I have them all set correctly, but if it won't let you attach something, just let me know and I'll fix it. Okay. All right. Okay. So before we dive into our riveting discussion about consulting, let's introduce each other, ourselves to each other. Many of you guys know each other already, and that's okay. But we have a lot of new online students here present virtually. So let's get to know each other a little bit. So tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what year you are in our program, because we've got a spread, a huge spread in here. And then, I don't know what your hopes and dreams are. I'm not sure. Random factoid. That's usually what my go-to thing is random factoid. But we'll start here. We'll go 1 person online, 1 person in class, and we'll switch back and forth till we get through everybody. Ready? Go. Yes, so when it's your turn, by the way, in person people, when it's your turn, unmute yourself, and I will have to mute myself. But then, yeah, you can go.
You just start.
Sure.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brooke. I am from the upstate of South Carolina, right outside of Greenville, a little small town. This is my 3rd semester in the master's program. I did the 4+1 program, so graduated in May, and here I am starting the last year full swing of grad classes. Yay. Hopes and dreams. Let's see here. Well, I work on campus at the rec center here at Clemson, and this summer I was training in my new position and kind of realized I think I want to take RT and work on a college campus and help establishing programming for community members and students that have disabilities within rec departments. So that's kind of hopes and dreams that I discovered this summer. Fun fact about myself. I've been to Hungary 9 times.
Whoa.
I mean 6. Wow, 6 times. Exaggeration, 6 times.
Okay. All right, somebody online.
Hi, my name is Tara. I'm a first-year PhD student. Can you guys hear me okay? I hear a little bit of feedback. Yeah, okay. I live in Webster, Massachusetts. I've lived in New England my entire life. I currently work as an assistant professor at Springfield College, and I also work as a recreation director at St. Camillus Health Center. It's a nursing home. My interest lies in long-term care, especially dementia care, specialized care, and the role that recreation therapists play in that. Let's see. Interesting factoid. I've never had a cavity. I used that in another class, but that's all I got.
Okay. All right, that was good. Somebody in person.
I'll go.
Okay.
My name is Derek Schaffner. This is my 4th semester here at Clemson University in the master's program. I'm from Burlington, North Carolina, and my goals and aspirations are to do inclusive and adaptive recreation in the community, hopefully with a large metropolitan area or state or community setting. Interesting fact about myself is that I'm a twin. Most people know that here. So it's not that interesting anymore, but that's all I got. That's me.
I think it's interesting. 2 people who look like Michael Phelps. Do you guys think that Derek looks like Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Yeah, very
So there are 2 other Michael Phelps lookalikes walking around.
She's not.
Okay. Okay. Somebody online.
Hi, I'm Whitney Wilson. I'm originally from North Carolina. I did my undergrad at Western Carolina. This is my 4th semester of the master's program. I work as a rec therapist at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. Fun fact, let's see, in the last 10 years, I've lived in every time zone of the continental U.S.
Wow. That's a lot of moving around.
It is. Glad to be in one place.
All right. Thank you, Whitney. Okay, somebody in person.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. My name is Katie Walker. I'm from Westfield, Indiana, so like the central Indiana area. It's my 3rd semester in the master's program here at Clemson. My population of interest, or kind of like my hopes and dreams too, I guess. I like working with veterans, so I did my internship at the VA. So I'd like to graduate and work at the VA. That's kind of my goal, I guess, immediately after I graduate. Fun fact, I ran a marathon in January. But Natalie also did.
You ran.
I ran the Disney, so that's the Disney Marathon. Fun fact, I guess.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Next online person. Don't everybody jump at once.
I will talk.
Oh,
Everybody,
okay, Shelly, you go first.
who wants to go first? I will go last. If Sydney, you want to go, you go right ahead. Okay. My name's Shelly. I went to the University of Southern Mississippi to the top for my undergrad. I live in South Alabama, as you can tell from my lovely accent. I work with veterans in long-term care. That's why I was giving you the thumb up, Katie. I've been there for 11 years. I also consult within my field and other veterans homes in Alabama. I love what I do. Veterans are awesome. They rock. They're a different, unique population. Let's see, what else about me? A unique fact about me is I lived in China at one point in my life when I was a lot younger, and I like to knit and do U's or figure eights in my front yard in my golf cart every night at 9 o'clock. That's my whole neighborhood knows it, with my husky that you met earlier. So that's fun times about me, and I'm excited. This is my 4th semester. Oh my gosh. 4th semester with Clemson. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. That's all I have.
We got some people at the end here. It's kind of sad.
Thank you.
All right. Next in person.
I'll go.
Hey everyone, my name is Charity, and I'm same thing as Brooke, the 4+1 program. So I'm in my 2nd year, the master's program. I'm from Seneca, which is like 10 minutes from Clemson, or right next to Clemson. And fun fact about me is that I have 7 siblings, and most of them have red hair, but I'm just have brown hair. So,
You could be your sibling.
That's funny. Okay. Next online.
All right, I'll go now. I'm really hoarse, so sorry about my voice. This is Millie. She'll be making many appearances. She has really bad separation anxiety. But I went to Western for my undergrad, and now I'm working in Greenville, at the Carolina Center for Behavioral Health. It's a 7-unit psych hospital, and I'm actually on my second Clemson intern right now. They're awesome, and I hope to get into dementia and long-term care and eventually have her as my service dog once we get some behavior issues situated. She's chewing me right now, so that's one of them. And I'm in my 3rd semester of grad school. I'm from Denver, North Carolina also. So I think those are all my facts. And I'm half Australian is my fun fact.
You're half what?
Half Australian.
Cool.
Yeah.
Throw another shrimp on the bobby. What movie? Dumb and Dumber. Gosh, you guys. Good day, mate. Let's throw another shrimp on the bobby. Jim Carrey. It's like classic Jim Carrey. Come on. All right. You guys probably weren't even born yet. Okay. Yes. Oh, good. Okay. Somebody in person. You just redeemed yourself.
Hello, I'm Natalie. Let's see, I did the 4+1 program as well, so I'm in the 2nd year. I'm from Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. I hope to work with mental health, with recreational therapy. Let's see, fun fact. Yeah, I also did a marathon this year. I'll be doing another one next year, so yay. That's all.
All right. Okay, online. Next online.
Jasmine. I'm in Carbondale, Illinois. I'm started the PhD program this past summer. Right now I'm an instructor at Southern Illinois University, which I admit is slightly terrifying. I've never really taught before, and I have 3 classes, but I think it'll work out okay. I also am getting certified for therapeutic horsemanship, and I teach therapeutic riding on the weekends to children, and I'm also part of a veterans PTSD program we have at that facility as well. I'm training for 2 half marathons this fall.
Yay. Me too. Half. I like the half distance. Kiowa Island again. Yep. It's flat. I like flat half marathons. Yeah. Okay, next in person.
Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. My computer is messing up right now, so it's getting fixed. I'm in my 3rd semester. I'm a 4+1 student. I'm from right outside of Columbia, South Carolina, so I was born and raised here. I want to work with athletes who have disabilities in adaptive sports. And fun fact about me is that I can sometimes fit a Skittle in my dimple.
That's such a random fact. It's awesome. That's what I want. Is random factoids. Okay. Next in person. Online. Sorry, next online person. Yeah, we got Janelle and Tracy, and I think that's it. No, and Sandy. Sorry.
I'll go. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My name is Janelle Goebel. I just actually, fun fact, I just moved to Pennsylvania. Last time you saw me, I was in Virginia. And I work with people with Alzheimer's and dementia in a skilled nursing facility located in New Jersey. So I travel to New Jersey every day. I am from New Jersey, so I moved back home kind of. And what else? I graduated from Lock Haven University in Pennsylvania.
How long does it take you to get to work from Pennsylvania to New Jersey?
I'm only 20 minutes away from the border, so only 35 minutes.
Oh, I guess
that's
not
too bad. No.
That seems like, I mean, geographically, I understand where Pennsylvania is, but where I'm picturing New Jersey is not close to Pennsylvania. But I guess if you're in that very corner,
yeah,
I'll be, yeah, 15 miles. Yeah. Oh, because you're in DC, right? Yeah, well, and I'm from Los Angeles, so I totally understand driving 1 mile and only taking you like 10 hours to get there. So, okay. All right. Welcome, Janelle. Who else do we have? Sandy, go ahead, and then we'll get Tracy, and then I'll go at the end.
Cool. Hi, I'm Sandy. I started with Jasmine and Tara over there this summer in the doctoral program online. And I like to do adaptive rock climbing the most. Also do a day hab garden. So some adaptive, can y'all hear me okay? Is that, okay, cool. So adaptive garden and adaptive kayaking and those sorts of things. Oh, fun fact, I have a soul mutt named Willie Nelson. You might see him.
All right. And then Tracy.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Okay, so my name is Tracy. I live here in Ogden, Utah. I'm in my 4th semester here with you guys at Clemson. I work in long-term care rehab center where I'm the recreation therapy director, and then I work for 2 consultants. I'm their assistant. And then I do that part-time. And let's see. Fun facts about me. I did 17 half marathons in 17 months. And then over the summer, I did my first 3-lay, which is a triathlon relay team. So that's me.
17 half marathons in 17 months. That's insane.
It gives me anxiety.
Way to go.
And Utah, there's no flat land.
No.
It's
No,
hilly.
no. Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah. Way to go. That's impressive.
Thanks.
All right. I'll wrap up at the end of this here. I'm Jasmine, other Jasmine, or Dr. T. For those of you in the 4+1, it is okay to call me Jasmine instead of Dr. Townsend or Dr. T. And Elizabeth had a hard time calling me Jasmine this summer, like standing in TJ Maxx, and she's like, Dr. T. And I was like, you can call me Jasmine. So it's all right. You can do it. I know it will be weird, but it's okay. What am I saying?
Who you are.
That's me. Originally I'm from Los Angeles, California. I made my way in this weird, circuitous route throughout the country to get here. I lived in Utah for 10 years, and then I went to Indiana to do my PhD, and then I was in Mississippi for 2 years as faculty, and then here. And I've been here for 4 years. This is my 4th year, and I'm not leaving anytime soon. So I'm becoming a Southerner. I have 2 kids who were born in the South. I don't know how, I'm like total city girl, Los Angeles, with 2 Southern peaches as my kids. So, and they have their cute little Southern accents on just some words, like FOA. I'm 4 years old, and I need help. I don't know where they're getting these accents from, because I don't have a Southern accent. But anyway, so my 2 cute kids who I will always tie them into class in some way. My hopes and dreams are to be a faculty member, so check on that one. But in terms of like my work and my practice and my pre-faculty life, it was all about adaptive sports, and I really like adaptive sports. Many of you guys know this, and my husband is a former Paralympic athlete, and so a lot of my life in adaptive sports was wrapped up into him, and it still is. When we go out and travel around and do stuff, he still competes, and so we still get to do all that. We do a lot of international traveling for adaptive sport clinics around the world. So hence the reason why we'll be gone this year to Thailand to do some adaptive sports. So lots of adaptive sports. But my population kind of interest in there is veterans. That's what I do all my research on, is veterans and the outcomes of rec therapy and adaptive sports with veterans. So, and that's what actually I do a lot of my consulting work with, is almost all of it is with veteran organizations. So that's about it. Random factoids. I said this in the other class, so those of you who are in that one, I apologize. My pinky toes don't bend. Don't know why. All my toes bend, but my pinky toes. So it's random. See, I'm glad I didn't go first, because last time I said that and everybody came up with a weird body issue. So now I go last and we don't have body issues talking about in class. So, okay. So welcome everybody. I think we're missing only one person from class today so far. Let me look through really quick. Yep, just one person. So hopefully she will be here next week. But consulting, program development and consulting. Let's just chat for a minute what you guys thought this class is going to be about, or think this class is going to be about. Feel free to weigh in and comment. And just when you saw that pop up on your course sequencing, what did you think?
I thought it
Good
would
things, bad things. It's okay. Be honest. Somebody online was talking.
Yes, did I interrupt anyone?
No, go ahead. Just me.
No. Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
I figured it was ways to kind of figure out how to be an effective consultant and find our own style. So I think everyone probably, just like teaching, you have your own style of consulting and helping others. So I figured it would pull from our experiences and then kind of give us some advice and some knowledge on how to be better.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts about what they thought this class was going to be about?
The first thing I thought was, I didn't know we did that.
Okay, as rec therapist, you didn't know rec therapy did consulting? All right. We'll have a good conversation, I think, then today. Go, somebody was going to say something. Go ahead.
Did I step on you?
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. And I also was thinking along the lines of sales and how annoying salespeople were. And I was thinking, like, are we going to have to do that too? I don't want to be annoying. But I dug a little more, and it's also a way, I'm kind of learning more and more that it's a way for us to, like, advocate for our field as well.
Good. Yeah. Really good. I know. So this is the dance between muting and unmuting, and we just have to do it. So I pretty much only have to mute myself because my computer is connected to these speakers up here. So I'll mute myself as I see you guys getting ready to comment. If I don't, we get that really bad feedback, and I'll just let me fix it really quick, but I'll pay attention. I don't have to mute myself for online people, so you guys feel free to jump in whenever you want. But okay, good. So some interesting thoughts, annoying salespeople. I didn't know we did that, and looking for ways to be better at what we do. All right. Any other thoughts about what you thought consulting was going to be?
My first thought when seeing it paired with applied research class for the semester as well was that it was a way to disseminate some information, some of the content that we're going to be coming up with for our profession.
Yeah, good. I like it. So an application of something, right? I mean, that's definitely what 8710 is about, which you guys all had last year. So to have that some way to generate information and get it out to the people that we want it to go to, practitioners, right? That's a good. Okay, so we have these ideas about what we thought this class was going to be like. So I'm just going to throw this out to you. What is a consultant? What do you think a consultant is? I mean, there's discussion in our readings for this week about what a consultant is, but what do we think it is?
Before I read the assigned reading, I had a picture in my mind of that movie Office Space.
Oh, man.
So they come in and they're like, you should do this, and everyone's so afraid because they're going to lose their job, and everyone's trying to impress the consultant so they can keep their job. So that's what I kind of think of.
Okay, well, you totally just like jumped ahead. I might as well show my clips right now.
Oh.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. I hope this works. I don't do this very often in here. I don't know what this looks like on your end, but all right. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, stop. So it's working on my computer, but not on yours. Hang on. I'll share a different screen. All right. Some good quality learning going on down here.
Oh, there you are. We're just talking about you. You must be Peter Gibbons. Terrific. I'm Bob Slidell. This is my associate, Bob Porter. Hi, Bob. Go ahead and grab a seat and join us for a minute. See, what we're actually trying to do here is we're trying to get a feel for how people spend their day. So, if you would you walk us through a typical...
Sorry, guys. I'm guessing that the people online, can you guys hear it okay? All right, sorry. I had to stop the sharing just because it was, I was worried you guys couldn't hear it. Okay, sorry.
Typical day for you.
Yeah, great. Well, I generally come in at least 15 minutes late. I use the side door. That way Lumberg can't see me. And after that, I just sort of space out for about an hour. Space out? Yeah, I just stare at my desk. But it looks like I'm working. I do that for probably another hour after lunch, too. I'd say in a given week, I probably only do about 15 minutes of real, actual work.
Peter, would you be a good sport and indulge us and just tell us a little more?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something about TPS reports.
TPS stands for?
The thing is, Bob, it's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care. Don't care? It's a problem of motivation, all right? Now, if I work my ass off and Initech ships a few extra units, I don't see another dime. So where's the motivation? And here's something else, Bob. I have 8 different bosses right now.
Beg your pardon?
8 bosses.
8?
8, Bob. So that means that when I make a mistake, I have 8 different people coming by to tell me about it. That's my only real motivation, is not to be hassled. That and the fear of losing my job. But you know, Bob, that'll only make someone work just hard enough not to get fired.
Would you bear with me for just a second, please?
Okay.
What if, and believe me, this is so hypothetical, but what if you were offered some kind of a stock option equity sharing program? Would that do anything for you?
I don't know, I guess. Listen, I'm gonna go. It's been really nice talking to both of you guys.
Absolutely. The pleasure's all on this side of the table, trust me.
Good luck with your layoffs, all right? I hope your firings go really well.
Excellent. Great.
Awesome. Okay, so good examples. Thank you, Tara, for making that. Hang on one second. Stop. Okay. Whew. I got one more for us to watch. I know, it's so good. We just can't try to get all these links open. Another Office Space clip. So the 2 Bobs, in case you're not following along, if you've never seen this movie, are consultants.
So there's 3 more people.
Ooh, hang on. Have you guys all seen this movie, I assume? No? Oh man, you guys are missing out. Some good quality entertainment here.
Can easily lose. And then there's Tom Sinkowski. He's useless. Gone.
Sounds good to me.
So those 2 guys are the bosses.
Peculiar. Milton Wadhams.
Who's he? You know, squirrely looking guy, mumbles a lot. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can't actually find a record of him being a current employee here.
I looked into it more deeply, and I found that apparently what happened is that he was laid off 5 years ago, and no one ever told him about it. But through some kind of glitch in the payroll department, he still gets a paycheck.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
Great. So, Milton has been let go.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch. So he won't be receiving a paycheck anymore, so it'll just work itself out naturally.
We always like to avoid confrontation whenever possible. Problem is solved from your end.
I'd like to move us right along to a Peter Gibbons. Now, we had a chance to meet this young man, and boy, that's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there. Yeah, he's been real flaky lately. And I'm just not sure that he's the caliber person that we would want for upper management. He's also been having some problems with his TPS reports.
I'll handle this here. We feel that the problem isn't with Peter. It's that you haven't challenged him enough to get him really motivated.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Yeah, Bill, let me ask you a real quick question here.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Really good examples of maybe some stereotyping about what consultants are like. So based on what you just saw in those two clips, what would you think consultants are like? What is their role? And what do maybe people who hire consultants expect them to do?
Come in and fix problems.
Yeah, come in and fix problems.
They want you to identify the problem.
Okay.
For the most part. Like, they want you to come in and kind of sort of be like the advisor to, like, because you don't work there, so you don't have to be like you can be the bad guy, and they swoop you in to, like, find the mistakes and then tell them what they're doing wrong. For the most part, that's what, from my experience, what they expect. And to try to give them some guidance and what they need to do to possibly fix it. But you can't do it. They have to do it themselves.
Exactly. So you're describing a better example of what a consultant should do than what was in the video. So I don't know, the context behind, in the video, the setup, if the two Bobs were internal employees of that company, because he said, well, I just went ahead and fixed the glitch. Well, in an authentic consulting situation, you don't have any power to do anything, right? You're just there, like Shelley said, as an advisor, somebody to give advice and support to some degree, but you're not actually doing anything. So this is something that's probably like a key element to consulting, is that you are there to provide a service, but your service is to identify problems, offer recommendations for how to address those problems, and then kind of say good luck and here's how I think you could do it and I'm out the door type of a thing. Never should consultants actually do the work, because then, as the chapters are identifying, that you're crossing into this weird line of management, right? Because that's really the manager's job. So those two guys, we'll see in the funny clip, the guy's like, good luck with your firings. I hope the layoffs go well. Again, consultants shouldn't actually be the ones doing the firing. They can recommend, well, this employee is a lazy bum, and this one this, and this one that, but they shouldn't actually be doing any of the hirings or firings. So thank you, Tara, for bringing office space into class. It was already going to be there, but for bringing it up. So has anybody had any experience interacting with any consultants? I know some of you said that you guys are consultants yourself, but do you guys want to talk about it and what it's kind of looked like, and from your perspective, good and bad?
We had a consultant visit Springfield College. Right now, our therapeutic recreation program is just a concentration. It's not a major. So we're hoping to move that into a major. So we had a consultant come in, and it was actually a really nice experience. And she offered different ideas and kind of worked on our strengths and met with everyone in the department, got to know people, talked to students. So I have to say it's probably my first experience working with a consultant, and it was nice. She had some great recommendations.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a consultant coming into higher ed.
Yeah, it was nice. It's nice that the dean approved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to share any experiences with consulting?
So I've been doing this for 20 years. So in the state of Utah, in order to run an activities program in a nursing home, you have to have your therapeutic recreation technician license, and you have to have a master TRS over you. So that would be your consultant. So I think, like, when I was reading through the book, a consultant in my eyes was a lot different than what they have a consultant as. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like right now, where I'm a consultant's assistant, what we do is we go into the nursing homes and we're consultants for those TRTs. So we still do the same thing as what the book was talking about and what you guys have been talking about. You know, we just advise, make sure that they keep these TRTs are following the CMS rules and things like that. And then we also provide educational things, keep them up to date so they know they know what goes on. But like you said, but we go in monthly. So our contracts are we renew them every year. So it's not like we go in, tell them what to fix, and then we're out of there. We're with them that whole year, and then if they renew it, we're with them. We continue on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you, as a consultant, you're an actual employee of the organization?
No, you're contracted. So you have a contract with them. You're not their employee. You're just contracted to do consulting work.
Okay.
And then we also do things like audit charts, make sure that their charts are audited. And then in the state in Utah, a TRT cannot write a care plan. So that's what I do as the assistant, is I go in and I write their care plans. So there's a lot of different things that they do. So reading just that first chapter and listening to you guys, my experience with a consultant and going into consulting is a lot different. So I'm kind of excited to learn both. Does that make sense?
Sure. So it seems like and I'm guessing that this is partly because the state of Utah has licensure. And there are different requirements and different elements to the job of a rec therapist than in other states that don't have licensure. So there's probably a part of it that's wrapped into that, and that's okay. And it might be the same in North Carolina for those of you who are next door, and we could talk more about that as well. But I agree with you that it's probably different, not necessarily good or bad, just different than kind of the broader concept of consulting.
Right.
And that's okay. Hopefully we'll be able to see the differences. Shelley, what about you?
Pretty much what I do is actually my role became more of a consultant toward the end of my 10 years. I've been doing it for 3 years within the state of Alabama with that other Alabama veterans homes within my company. So what I do is I go in, I work, I train the person that's in charge of activities or recreation or whatever. I'm the only CTRS within my company, so they send me to the other facilities to help them with things that they have issues with. 2 of our homes I'm actually working hand in hand. I go quarterly, and what I do is I make site visits, and then I do chart audits from afar, and then I offer suggestions for improvement in their programming, how they can incorporate different things that are more key toward our population to make their programs better. Because within long-term care and the Veterans Association, we have 2 surveys a year with the federal VA and with the state of Alabama. So, and with the other facilities or whatever. And so what we have to do is to make sure that they're within the regulations that they're supposed to be doing. So it's kind of like a sort of more of a hand-in-hand type thing. I go there and pretty much say, okay, this isn't acceptable and we need to make some improvements and changes, and let's talk about what we can do to fix that. So,
but you don't do any fixing.
No. I have struggled with that when I first started because, especially like in one of our homes that opened, it was a brand new home, and we wanted to pass licensure so that we could get federal funding for our veterans and stuff. And I helped create some of the care plan goals, and I went in the computer and kind of sort of fix some of the issues that were going on. I don't know how else to explain it, but anyway, I've kind of learned that when I did that, they were like, oh, Jilly's here, she'll fix all our stuff. And then when I come back in 3 months, like the same stuff would still be there and nothing would change. So now I just put it in a fancy report, and I send and explain what they need to fix, and we talk about it as a group, and then it goes to the person in charge. So, yeah. The end.
Have you seen more effective, change after the report side of things as opposed to you doing it?
In one building, they have an awesome program, and they are doing great. And in the other building, I think there's some challenges, but it's not necessarily it's leadership, and the person in charge doesn't want to have the motivation to I don't want to be negative, but you know what I mean? It's not necessarily, they have to take what you offer, and they have a choice whether or not they want to listen or they don't want to listen.
Absolutely. You are jumping right ahead to where we're going to go with this. So let's just, I have a nice little handy dandy PowerPoint that I'll just pull up, and mostly this is just for my own notes so that I can stay on track with what I'm talking about. But hello. All right. So consulting here. The end goal somewhere in there. Is it off to the side for everybody else? Well, shoot. I don't know how to make that change.
It happened the first time we tried to show the video, but we fixed it.
This is what it looks like on mine, so I don't know why it looks.
You know when you like hook things up to the screen, you have to like mirror it or whatever the setting's called.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
But I don't know how to do it.
How about I'll just do. Come on, Zoom. You're supposed to be the better functioning program than Adobe Connect. All right, I know that this is not like the real way to use PowerPoint, but we're just going to do it. Okay, how's that? All right, you guys can just look at it like this.
I wonder if you try to put it into full screen now for work.
It's thinking about it. No, because now you guys see presentation mode.
Yeah, okay. It's a little bigger this way.
Yeah, but then you see the next slide, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, well, good to know that it doesn't work so the way that I thought it would work. That's okay. We'll just look at it like this. Okay, so the end goal of consultation is to go in and affect some type of change, right? That people who are in the facility, wherever, that they will learn something and behaviors will change or programming will change or something will change. We're trying to impact change. So there are a number of skills required for consulting. And the chapter talks about this, and then we're just kind of reviewing stuff in the chapter here, but technical, interpersonal, and consulting. So if you are acting in the role of a consultant, there is some assumption that you have some expertise in what you're doing, right? So Derek, one of your comments in your commentaries was that you wouldn't consider, or how do you consider somebody an expert in something? Yeah. At what point do we consider ourselves having enough expertise to say, I will come in and offer you advice on how to do something? And anybody can comment on this and share.
I think that confidence plays a big role in that as well. Like I could know everything in the world and not feel confident enough to say, I know how to fix your problem.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think also like when you get like our certification, like then you kind of have that.
Make sure you talk loud.
When you get your certification, that kind of that gives you that confidence that you know what you're doing, and kind of that authority.
Mm-hmm. And also just more experience doing our job too, right? Right. So some of you guys, the entirety of your experience is your internship, and that's okay because that's what stage you are in your professional life, right? But as we grow and develop, we gain more skills, we gain more knowledge, we gain more experience, and all of that impacts our ability to do our job. And so let's just say that you are over and over and over, everything you're doing is in the same program, and it just happens to be that you're always doing adaptive sports with veterans all the time, every single time. You'll gain insight into what works, what doesn't work, what's the best way to do this. Let's not do this like this again, et cetera, to the point where after enough of that, somebody's going to think that you know what you're talking about, right? And they may ask you to come and look at their adaptive sport program for veterans and weigh in on it. And that's okay. So does that make you an expert? What makes you an expert? Or does that just make you very knowledgeable? I don't know. Like expert, that is kind of a big word.
I think that's very loaded, you know? I just think you know a lot. I would consider expert, you know?
I would consider Michael Phelps an expert in swimming. I'm sorry, I had to do that. Okay, so I think I would consider that Michael Phelps is an expert in swimming, right? Because, man, look how much experience he has, and in all of the technical aspects of swimming, his arm strokes, his leg kicks, everything, and he studies it, and he has perfected it, and he has refined his ability to do it. So if he came up to me and saw me swimming and said, hey, you should do this, you know, do your arms like this, I'd be like, okay, you know, and just do it, right? Without even questioning, I would say yes. Now, are we as recreational therapists do we think we could ever get to a point where our documentation is such, skills are such that somebody would be like, you tell me and I will do it exactly like that? I hope, I don't know, maybe, hopefully. I mean, my skills won't ever be like that, I'm sure, about documentation, since I don't do it enough because I don't practice. But yeah.
I was gonna say that
sorry.
I was gonna say that I think different people can reach the title of expertise in like a different way, kind of like we've talked about, either through certifications or training or the experience, and the confidence part definitely comes in. And once you have kind of like one branch of those things, I think you can get to it. Sometimes it's a combination, but.
I would say that if you're putting yourself out there as a consultant, you better have the skills, all right? Because it only takes one job for somebody. If you're putting yourself out there as a consultant, you better have that skill and expertise in that area, because it only takes one job for somebody to make it really obvious that you don't know what you're talking about, right? Did you have something to say?
Yeah. I was just going to say, it made me think of when you said documentation stuff. My supervisor this summer developed the documentation program for her facility. So I guess she was like kind of like an inner consultant in that because she was the ultimate expert in it, because she helped develop it.
Sure.
So even though she didn't have a ton of experience with it, except for the developing part, she knew it inside and out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is where we get into that fine line of what a consultant is versus an employee, a knowledgeable employee, or is she management level?
No, but I don't really know how to explain that.
Yeah, it's okay. But yes, but I see where you're going with it, that she had that skill and expertise to be able to offer something to change how things are done, basically, right? Yeah. Okay, so skills required, technical expertise, something having to do with what you're doing. Some interpersonal skills, right? We've got to be able to work well with other people and to be able to offer critique and feedback and do it in such a way that it is well received, instead of people just automatically like getting defensive about it and be like, oh, how dare you critique me, type of a thing. And there is a lot of skill in offering feedback to people. You can't just shred people all the time. I know that if you've ever gotten a paper from me, I'm like, rah, in the track changes. I'm kidding. Well, maybe not, but the critique is good, but there's a good way and a bad way to do it, right? So sometimes in track changes, when it's really late at night, I'm just like, nope, nope, nope. And that could be really abrasive to people. But if I were going to give feedback in a more accepting and welcoming way, it would be like, maybe you should consider doing it like this, right? So those are the interpersonal skills that as a rec therapist, those are like our therapy skills, right? Our Jedi mind tricks, those are the things that we have to do to maintain the working relationships with people. All right, consulting. I thought this was funny. Required skills for consulting is consulting skills. That's how I read that in the chapter, and I was like, what? Oh, that seems weird. But then we have to go on to kind of the next slide to get here are the phases of consulting, which are really, I might have gotten out of order here. Oh, I lost a slide, guys. That's sad. I did lose a slide. Well, you guys have your books right there. Some of you do. There's 5, I believe, or 4 consulting skills or being able to implement the phases. Well, I guess the skills, no, it is. The skills of consulting are being able to implement the phases. And here are the 5 phases, of implementing consulting. Yeah. So the phases themselves aren't the skills, it's being able to implement those phases. So I apologize for that. So we have 5 phases here, and we'll go into more detail about this later. So this is just kind of a little bit of a preview, but entry and contracting. So how do you get these jobs and how do you establish this MOA, the contract with people? You kind of have to negotiate with people, right? Who's doing what, establishing the tasks for each person and the process by which you are going to complete all these tasks. Discovery and dialogue. What is that one about?
Working with your people.
Exactly. Establishing communication plans, right? Determining what that chain of command is. Feedback and decision to act, again, giving that feedback, and it goes both ways. So your client, as a consultant, your client is an organization, more than likely. They can give you feedback, you can give them feedback. It goes both ways, and usually all of it is important to making the whole project work. And then having some decision to act. So the funny element in there about where he was like, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you on that one. Okay, so it's okay if our clients disagree with us. But as somebody mentioned, you kind of have to have some level of buy-in and commitment to what your consultant is doing in order to actually make the changes that they recommend and implement the feedback. So the engagement and implementation, again, getting people to be engaged in what you're doing, because it's very hard as an external consultant to do a project when you don't have anybody at the site who is working with you, engaging with you on it. It's almost impossible to get a project done, and I've been there for sure. And then at the very end, this kind of extension, recycle, or termination. So are you going to continue doing what you're doing? Do we have to redo anything, or are we going to end the project here? Is it over, or people are dissatisfied with what's going on, so they just end it? So being able to implement all of those 5 phases of a consulting project, that is the skills, the consulting skills. And it does take a lot to kind of manage all of that all at once. So this class will walk us through the phases of consulting and teach us about all of those elements and what it takes to do it, and then we'll do it. Look at that. We're not just going to learn it, we're going to do it in this class. Just do it with a Nike swoosh.
Is this something that like all RTs end up doing? Like consult? No. Okay. Just for us to have.
Good question. So I don't know if the online group, if you heard Brooke's question, she asked if consulting is something that all rec therapists do. And I would say no, most rec therapists don't do any consulting. And so really I would say that this is something that you need to have been practicing in the field for a while in order to be able to have that perspective about what practice should look like, in order to be able to then go in and change practice to look like that. And so it takes time to build up the skills and the knowledge, the expertise, to be able to then go and affect change in programs. And some people don't want to do that. Yeah.
When I was first reading this, I was trying to apply it to RT and like what I know. And so in my head, I was like, I was trying to translate this into the sense of being a rec therapist and working with clients and more like life consulting and trying to like apply like the API process with our clients. I wasn't taking it as the broad thing of like, you're coming in and helping an actual RT program develop, but yeah, that makes sense.
So, very good point. So a couple people made comments in their reading commentaries about this. The client in this situation is not an individual person in a facility. The client is the facility. So this is why this whole class is really called program design and consulting?
Program planning.
Program planning, yeah, and consulting. Because a lot of this is the application from this very business-focused consulting book, The Application of Rec Therapy. A lot of what we as rec therapists will do as consultants is go in and develop programs. And so let's say, I'll give you an example. So what I did for my consulting project for Marika way back was I worked with the National Ability Center, which is a community rec organization in Park City, Utah, that for individuals with disabilities. And it says in their mission statement that they serve individuals with disabilities and their families. And part of my research area, not just veterans, is family recreation and family leisure. And I did my internship there, and I never once saw any family programming happening. And so as I was doing this project, I was thinking, man, well, as I had to come up with a project, I said, I wonder if the NAC would be interested in me doing something for family programming or figuring out what the interest levels are of their participants or anything like that. And so I contacted the NAC and said, I'd like to do this project with you. What do you think? Here's what I'll do, and needs assessment and all this stuff. And I'll determine what the participant perspectives are of family programming and the staff perspectives are of family programming. And so the NAC was my client. So my contract was between me and the NAC. There were no, I talked to participants, so, individual clients of the NAC, but they weren't my clients. And I was going somewhere with this. I'm not sure if I got there. Hang on.
Facility.
Yeah, facility, not an individual. So as you guys are thinking about your projects, already we were going to talk about it today, be thinking at that broader level of facility and not individual people. Of course you will work with those individual people, but you are serving the facility as a whole. Oh, this is where I was going. So the program development, program design element of this class is a lot of what rec therapy does is develop programs. So I was working with the NAC to see if they wanted to, if there was even interest to have a family program. Was I going to develop it for them? Not in the semester class, but had they hired me afterwards and said, we love this information that you got from this project, go ahead and develop us a family program, I would have said, okay, this is how much I charge per hour, and I will develop this program for you. I put it all together. I'll tell you how many staff you need and all that stuff. And then I'll put a bow on it and hand it to you, and you guys can implement it. But that would have been how rec therapists, this is where I was going with my comment. That's how rec therapy does consulting or that's how we as rec therapists do consulting in our profession. That's one way. There are many ways, but that's one way, and that's what this class is really kind of going to be focused on. Although you don't always have to develop a program you don't have time to do that in this class. So your project will be something else. But yeah, so is that a little bit more clear? Less muddy? Clear as mud? Okay. Okay. So looking quickly. All right, so some assumptions on the consultant's part. Problem solving requires valid data. So you collect data. I did interviews with all of my people. I recorded all that, transcribed all that, did my first content analysis. All of that led me to make the recommendations that I did. It was all data-based. So we talk about evidence-based practice all the time. This kind of feeds into it a little bit. So this might not be outcomes data, but it's still data.
Is an IPA like a form of consulting?
Depends on what the reason is that you're doing it, but if you're, yes, sort of. If that's an answer to your question. It just depends on how you are setting things up. So you could do an IPA for a program as part of your project in this class, like say, not your thesis. Wait a second, I was just like making the connections and saying.
It just sounds like really familiar. I don't know.
I see where you're going with this.
It's like similar.
Yes, but you could. So let's say that there's some other program that you have a connection with and you talk to them. Turns out they don't do any program evaluation. You're like, let me develop a program evaluation for you. Sure, contract it out. Here's the timeline, just in this semester. You develop that IPA, and then it's something that you implement with them for the first time so that they can see how to do it, and then they do it forever and ever from now on. So that could be your project, a project in this class, but not if it's your thesis. I know. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, but not like that. But for other people, you can definitely work out some ideas if you want to about how your thesis might play out. There's pieces of that you could probably work into this, but smarter, not harder, but not like that. You're funny. So are the decisions that we make, okay, so effective decisions require free and open choice. So the people who are involved, the people at the facility who are involved in our programs, They need to be able to participate in what it is that we're doing with them. They can't just be dictated to all of the time. They've got to be able to offer feedback and then choose whether or not they want to kind of implement that. That goes into the next one. Effective implementation requires internal commitment. People have to have buy-in. If they don't believe in what you're doing and they think it's a waste of time, you can make all the recommendations you want, and they can be glorious recommendations. And if they don't care, they're not going to do it. Okay. So these are some assumptions before we ever do anything, that the people who are involved with us are going to be committed and be able to contribute. So some goals, I guess, of what we're doing is establishing a relationship. Again, this is a working relationship. You cannot do this solely on your own. So you've got to have some type of relationship with somebody at the facility. Hopefully what we're doing is solving problems for the long term. So we're not just fixing something in the immediate that's never going to be, beyond fixing that issue right then. It's never going to be addressed ever again. These are long-term changes. Ensuring attention to technical problems and relationships. So yeah, so again, this is just goes into who you're working with at a facility in terms of making sure that the recommendations will be accepted by everybody who kind of works there. And then developing client commitment. Again, similar along the other lines in terms of having buy-in before you get into the implementation phase. Everybody needs to be committed to what you're doing. So any questions so far about just that very brief review of, I don't know, that's like chapter 1 and 2 kind of combined together. So I really don't want to have to like re-lecture the chapters. So I'm just trying to do cursory overviews of things. We're at this level of a class doesn't need to have like lectures, but all right. So enough about consulting in general. Let's talk about this project. How many of you guys are freaking out about the project? Inside, maybe not externally freaking out, but inside you're thinking, oh crap, how am I going to get all this done in a semester?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for being honest. It's okay. All right, so let's talk about some project ideas. Does anybody have any ideas already? It was in the syllabus to think about things. And no idea is bad at this point. We just got to throw them all out. So I'm going to stop sharing really quick so that we can see all of each other. Hello. All right. Okay. Who wants to go first? Elizabeth, I saw you raise your hand.
Yes. Can
Okay.
I just talk loudly so I don't have to keep unmuting this?
Can you guys hear her okay when she talks loud? Okay.
Okay. I kind of was considering maybe incorporating chair yoga into a place that I worked at this summer. That typically has, or like its general population is like what would you say is Natalie? Natalie worked there too. Like I would say 60s or above. So I figured that may be a good place to start. They do have yoga there, and there's a really good instructor who's super experienced. So I just kind of started brainstorming, like talking with her and whatnot. Last year at SRTS, NDP or Marika and her doc student did chair yoga at a conference, and I was like, this is so cool. So just a thought.
Okay, so you'll develop a program that doesn't exist, and not just develop it, but implement it. And so what would you want to potentially measure in doing something like that? Like how many people or interest or satisfaction or something like that. So it's not just enough to develop and implement, but are you going to try to evaluate some element of it?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, because we don't just like develop programs for one-time implementation, right? And I'm assuming you would want to develop something that you would kind of leave it there for them, and you might not work there ever again, but hopefully they would continue to do chair yoga. Is that why you want to develop the program?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
And it's aimed towards the elderly population. And
it fits?
Yeah.
Okay. And guys, this is really meant to be a collaborative element of this class, is that every time we talk about our projects, we all have expertise in different areas and we all could offer insight and ask questions and anything. So anybody who has any comments or questions about Elizabeth's idea, and vice versa to everybody, weigh in and feel free, because we have like 15 minds here that can help refine projects, which is great. That takes a lot of pressure off of me to be refining 15 projects by myself, as opposed to all of you who have really good thoughts and insights about people's work. So ask questions. So, okay, so some type of chair yoga program for, what's the place that you worked?
It's like a country club.
Oh.
So, the reserve. So, you used to work there? Hey,
So do they have like a constant stream of people coming in and out, or is it like a seasonal thing?
So, yeah.
It's in a neighborhood?
Yeah, it's like a community.
They have like a little like village.
Oh, cool. So it might be busier in nicer weather, summertime, and less busy in the winter. So something to consider as you're developing a program like that, is this going to be a year-round program, or is this going to be just a fair weather when they're really busy and there's lots of people coming and going? Because would you have a chair yoga class for 2 people? Or would you have a chair yoga class for like a minimum number? I don't know. All things to work out.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Anybody else having any thoughts or ideas?
I have an idea.
Okay.
Somewhat.
Do you want to unmute or mute, whatever?
Okay. So I wanted to do a program evaluation for Regal Care to evaluate their marketing strategy and how effective their marketing is to individuals in the Greenville County area.
Really good idea. So how do you evaluate marketing strategies? I don't know anything about that.
That I don't know. At the moment, my brother does digital marketing, so he's like my expert.
Okay.
But they just currently use just like media or email blasts, which are highly ineffective at this point for them.
And we know that. We have the, yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to evaluate that.
Okay. I think that's a really good idea, especially given everything going on. That goes really nice. Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead and mute yourself again.
I'll unmute mine. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that I work at the recreational center on campus, and I know that right now they're kind of in the planning stages for developing more inclusive programs and stuff like that. And so I've just been kind of brainstorming right now in class, kind of trying to decide like what types of projects that I could do there, or at least kind of help them. And I think the main thing right now, as they try to transition to incorporate more inclusive, like a more inclusive environment, is the staff needs to have better knowledge. And when I interned, we would, the interns, we had to do in-services where we came in and just taught the rest of the staff about something else, and creating some kind of training session of either teaching other, because we have, you know, student staff as well as full-time staff members. We have grad assistants, but doing kind of a general education on people with disabilities and like how, you know, what person first languages and I don't know, other, because when it gets, I think it would be too much for me to try to develop a program on actual fitness, like adapting fitness, like,
because there's so much.
And like there would be other certifications that would need to happen for me to kind of facilitate that, but doing more of a general training of this is how you interact with people with disabilities, and especially like in our campus recreation center, like how do you navigate around, because our elevators are in 2 different places and things like that. Maybe
that's a really good idea, especially given the Clemson Life program that's on campus. And how many of those students use FIKE?
Yeah, they all do. We have classes that they come do, and workout buddies and other things like that. But those students and workers, they have, you know, they're kind of contracted in, but our general staff doesn't have any training.
Exactly. Well, so, and it doesn't just have to be Clemson Life students. So, for example, my husband is a wheelchair user, and when we were living in Indiana, and he was when we were living in Indiana going to school at IU, he was working for the university and he wanted to play in intramural sports, and he contacted Campus Rec and said, hey, do you guys have any intramural sports that I could play in? And they're like, no. And he said, well, technically by law, ADA, you have to provide something. And they're like, well, you'd be the only person. And like, that was their response to him. Like, we don't have anything for you, and you'd be the only one, so we're not going to develop anything for you. So, I mean, I think this is totally, pertinent and relevant to campus rec in general, because that, unfortunately, is a perspective that a lot of campus rec, entities take across, universities across the country. It's not just in Indiana, but yeah. And for a campus like ours, that's not very.
I just turned mine off.
Yeah, it's okay. For a campus like ours that's not very physically accessible, I know. And I've seen like 3 people in wheelchairs wheeling around campus. And I mean, I know Jeff's experience is not very easy to get around campus. And so a lot of people in campus rec kind of have this whole chicken or the egg. Do we develop the program and then wait for students to come, or do we wait until the students get here and then we'll develop the program? Well, why would students come here if there's nothing for them? So good idea. Anybody else have any ideas they want to share? All right, Whitney.
So I work primarily with the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And one of our behavioral health is community reintegration and how we support maintaining sobriety and program. So that is an area where we should have an abundance of resources based on being in the DC area, but we face a lot of challenges because a lot of our folks rely on public transportation but aren't as well versed in it as they should be. Or we get folks who travel through this area and just kind of end up here and aren't from here. So I was thinking about how I can incorporate that into kind of coming up with a list of resources or kind of a program for community reintegration that we can use across all of our behavioral health units. Because I think that's probably our weakest area with programming at NIH. That's my personal feeling. Other people might have a different perspective. But I feel like there's a lot more opportunities than what we offer. And so I feel like it could be an internal role, but I don't know how objective I could be because I work in that environment. So that would be a challenge.
Point there. So that would be something that you would have to work through in the process of developing this program. Like who would be your, in your liaison to the NIH, because you can't, if you just develop the program yourself, a community reintegration program, and you implement it yourself, you're not in a consulting role. You're just doing your job. You're probably doing extra than what your regular duties are, but that's not consulting. So you would have to find somebody likely in a higher up role at NIH that you could work with, bounce ideas off of. They would give feedback as well, but they would ultimately be the one to implement it too. So you'd have to be objective, and then once it's developed, you'd have to step back from it and just kind of let it play out the way it's going to play out. But you could offer feedback as you see it being implemented that, you could probably develop some element of an evaluation of it too as it's being implemented, so that there's a way to evaluate if it's on track or not. And of course that is in line with all of rec therapy, what we should be doing in terms of evaluating our services, but what we should be doing. Keyword. I think the word's locked. Can somebody open the door for Brad?
But then wouldn't the evaluation be coming from the patients and not the client?
No, because you can have different levels of evaluation.
Okay.
So it just depends on how you develop that evaluation. You could do both. So you could have individual patient level evaluation of the program, and then you could have administrator level evaluation of the program as well, getting at kind of two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
In terms of how well a program is working. And then as the consultant, as the external person, you could take all of that information and bring it in, and you could say, okay, this is how it was designed, and this is the feedback we got from participants, or these two levels of program evaluation, and how well do they, does it meet what was intended to happen? And if it doesn't meet, then you can make further recommendations on how to change the program, but not be the one who implements it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice because you get to do some element of something different in your job, but then you don't have to add on to the work in your job. So being an internal consultant is really very different than being an external consultant, and you do have to try to be more objective and step back from some things. It's a little bit harder, I think.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, because I share the unit with another rec therapist, because I also work as a generalist at the hospital, so I work with medical patients as well. So if she implemented it, like I would run it through Donna, and then the other therapist would implement it, and then it would take me out of the mix.
Well, and Donna would probably be your go-to person in terms of, she would be your liaison to the facility, even though you're internal, but she would be your person.
Okay.
And she, in the process of you doing this, you may have to get access to things that in your position at NIH you don't have access to, and so she would be your person to give you that access. Either she would get you the information, or she would give you access to the information kind of separately. But yeah, cool. Good idea. Okay. Anybody else have any ideas they want to share?
I had 2 different ideas, and I don't even know if I'm on the right track or not, so you'll have to let me know.
That's the whole point of this.
Okay, excellent. So the nursing home where I work, there's a secured memory neighborhood, and it's all residents that have been diagnosed with dementia and have different behaviors, and we have an increase in falls on that neighborhood. So I was thinking of maybe doing something with aromatherapy to see if that would help with either sleep patterns or reducing falls. I know there's a lot of moving parts with that, so I wouldn't even know if that's something that could happen, and hopefully something that, if it worked, would continue to be put in place, so nursing staff could be a part of that.
So what is the problem that you're trying to address?
So be a reduction in falls.
So this is a really good example of how everything that we do as a consultant kind of has to start with, there's an identified issue, right? So there's a lot of falls going on in your facility. There's poor community reintegration at an NIH. There's no inclusive attitudes or knowledge at FIKE. There's horrible marketing for Greenville, County Parks and Rec, Greenville CAN. There's no fun activities. I don't know, that's really bad, fun activities. I just totally stereotyped us as activities people. But there's no appropriate activities for people of a certain age at the reserve, okay? So it all does have to start with identifying a problem. So, but we wanna make sure that in identifying this problem that we don't also get so specific with an attempt to correct it that very specific attempt, if it doesn't work, then there's nothing else. So in reducing falls, I mean, let's just like brainstorm really quick. What are all the different ways that you could reduce falls? Staff training.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the reasons that people fall in long-term care?
They're tired, they don't understand what's being asked of them. I think alarms also, which we're working on, alarm reduction.
Yes!
I mean, terror alarms don't help, because once you hear an alarm, what do initially you want to, you're supposed to be leaving, not sit back down. So they're kind of counterproductive.
Getting up to use the bathroom at night, that's a big one.
In my facility, we went alarm-free this past year, and our falls went from probably 20, 25 a month, which is really not that much in most long-term care facilities, to like 0.
Wow.
So
I think we'd still expect falls, though, because the nature of the neighborhood that we have. I mean,
so I think this is a really good example of how we're identifying a problem and trying to come up with all the plausible reasons that problem happens. And so then in terms of coming up with a solution to that is, I'm not saying that aromatherapy is not a good option for that, but
I'm completely focused on that, hyper-focused on it, so this is good.
Exactly. Hyper-focused, I think, is a good example of, or a good description of what could happen. We could get so focused on one way to treat something or deal with a problem, which aromatherapy might help. It might provide mental clarity that they're like, I've been sitting in a chair for 4 hours. I shouldn't just jump up like that. That's how my grandma broke her hip. She spent like 8 hours putting together a puzzle and then didn't eat any meals and then thought she could just like get up and walk up, broke her hip and her femur. So, I mean, And she's like 95 and probably wasn't thinking. Anyways, side commentary. But, is aromatherapy going to be the one thing that addresses all of the reasons for falls or just one reason for falls? So in terms of developing a protocol or something like that, we probably want to come up with something that is as encompassing as possible for all the reasons that falls exist. And so that would probably be a better project than being focused on something really narrow.
Okay, so focus on the reasons why falls are happening.
I think that would be part of the project, is what the reasons are, but then I think the other element is developing some type of protocol to reduce those falls. So maybe part of what you're doing is reviewing documentation, like incident reports for all of the falls that happened in a certain period of time. And you can categorize what the reason for the falls are, like weakness, just poor functioning, but then also, like Shelley said, what percentage of falls happened immediately after an alarm went off.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you can kind of see, well, what if 90% of the falls happened in response to an alarm, then I would think that the protocol to establish would be either alarm-free or some other process. If you can't go alarm-free, some other protocol to follow when an alarm happens, such that you can address 90%. So I think you have kind of two elements in this type of a project, where you're establishing what the primary or most predominant reasons are for falling, and then making recommendations based on that for some type of protocol.
Okay.
A fall reduction protocol. And then, I mean, it would take time to implement something like that and to see the outcomes. So I don't think that could happen in this class, but you could make the recommendations.
Okay. My other idea was, I've been working in long-term care for about 17 years, so I haven't really seen too many other recreation therapists. I mostly see activity professionals, and when you go to different conferences, especially for long-term care and culture change, that's what you see. So I was thinking something along the lines of an educational piece, like we had talked about in the other class. So when you had talked about the tearaway pages, where you could, you're at a conference and you find out more information about recreation therapy, and then, something to take with you. So there's some element of education going out there about the benefits. So.
Yeah, so it's not just a internal policy change in terms of how to deal with falls and or prevent falls, but it's a system-wide education on that as well. And maybe, like you're saying, how rec therapy could contribute to that. Or not, but yeah.
I wasn't thinking tying it to falls. I was just thinking general rec therapy benefits versus activity professionals. That's my idea. But I mean, so why would you hire a recreation therapist? And a lot of people just don't. From my experiences, a lot of administrators don't know what it is.
Got it. I'm on the same page now.
But I mean, it could incorporate the fall thing, but I was thinking of two separate things, and maybe it could be.
Yeah, two separate things. No, that's really interesting. So you could develop some type of educational training, staff training about, rec therapy versus activities. So are you the only rec therapist?
Yes.
And how many activities people are there?
There's 3 full-time.
And how many employees in total in the facility?
Oh my gosh. Usually over 100. I don't know exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, with part-time per diem.
Yeah. If there's only 3 activities and 1 rec therapist, I could see how people just mesh you guys all together.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Well, especially since it's just one department.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I think that's another good idea too. So
yeah, our setup in our facility is the same as several other facilities too.
Yeah.
And it might not even have a rec therapist. It might just be activity professionals.
So I think this is good to have multiple ideas, because over the next couple of weeks, as you refine things, one of them may just not pan out and something else will have to come in place. So you may have one idea right now, but try to think of something that could be a plan B option just in case plan A falls through. And stuff like this happens all the time. So yeah, I have had like plan Z types of backup plans for projects and whatever in classes, but this is one where you should have a plan B. All right, anybody else want to share any thoughts or ideas about a project?
I'd like to do a training program for the Equine Therapy Center I'm at. We have mainly a volunteer staff that come in, and that has a high turnover. So each semester we have a whole new group of volunteers. We don't have a formal training at all. Like, it's sort of piecemeal together, and each person that does it has different things that they emphasize as being important. So whenever they come in for the therapy session, oftentimes they'll think it's adaptive riding, which is not at all what we do. It's specifically therapeutic riding. They don't really understand what their job is. They'll think it's just to keep the rider from falling off, not to actually do the therapy. So I think having a formalized training manual and training program would help alleviate some of that.
That'll be super duper intense, but if you have nothing, that could be a huge. So is this for turnover for volunteers or for hired staff?
Our nonprofit is all volunteers. Like, technically, even I'm a volunteer.
Okay.
We have one certified PATH instructor, and then we have our board, and then the rest of us aren't getting paid. I mean, they're paying for my certification, but I'm not getting like an hourly anything.
No, that's a really good idea, is developing a training plan. Mm-hmm. And so again, an instance here like Whitney, where you would kind of be an internal consultant, so you'd have to remain objective, and we won't necessarily see the implementation. Well, maybe, I don't know. How often do you guys do trainings?
Once a semester. Well, so fall, spring, summer.
Yeah, so we might not actually see the implementation of your training in this semester, but just you as an employee over time would likely see the implementation of your training at some point. So if you wanted to remain in that consulting role beyond just what you have to do in this class, you could potentially, you would have to be objectively removed from it to some degree, where you wouldn't necessarily be the frontline hands-on implementer of that training, so that you can be able to give that kind of more critical feedback to it, and not, and this is hard when you develop something and you're there to see it implemented and it's implemented wrong and you're like, you know, that's not what it was supposed to be like. You know, you can't be emotional about it. Consultants can't be emotional at all about anything. And so that's why as an internal consultant, it can be a little bit difficult to remain that connected to something that you're working on. And we'll talk about this more as the semester progresses. There's a lot of challenges to being an internal consultant, and there's a lot of challenges to being external as well. Sorry. So yeah, okay. Good idea there on that one. Keep working on that. Anybody else have any ideas want to share?
Okay, so this kind of goes along with my master's thing too. So I don't know if you're gonna go for it or not, but so in long-term care, we see a lot of mental illnesses starting to come into our building, versus the little lady in the wheelchair that you're used to seeing. We're getting a lot of younger residents with a lot of mental illnesses, and CMS has required that we reduce their medications, but there's no programming to help them cope with their mental illness. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So in my building, I've implemented a mental illness program, and one of the consultants that I work with wants me to take my program, but do it in a way so the TRTs can still do it in other buildings. Does that make sense? Because there's things as a CTRS that I can do that a TRT couldn't do. Like, I can do a lot of more processing, and they're not able to do that. So coming up with a way that they can still help their residents who have mental illnesses with this program and be able to keep them off the medications. But then that's also what my project is too, is that I'm measuring getting them off their medications and reducing their behaviors and seeing if there's a correlation with the recreation therapy program in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so for your project, you're actually measuring outcomes of your program for your master's project, but for this project, you could potentially develop a I don't want to say an adapted version of it, but some
That's
different.
the word that I would have used too. Is an adapted part of the program, but that's not the right word. But
You're developing some version of your program that can be implemented by somebody who doesn't have the same certifications and qualifications as you do. Yeah, so it's like a modified version for a tech to implement.
Mm-hmm.
The place of no certified, no higher level person, whether it's a CTRS or an MTRS, right?
Right, they're licensed as TRTs.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So a modified version of your mental health. What is it again? What does it have a name? Your program?
It's called Solasis.
Okay. Maybe you just call it 2.0, and that's for techs to implement.
Well, I was thinking of reflections, because as the program's more a reflection of who you are and where you want to be. Does that make sense? And so, a lot of my clients end up staying in long-term care because they don't have the coping skills of how to be out into the community, or so they end up being long-term, and they're very young people. So it's not,
So the people that
institutionalize at that age.
Yeah, the clients that the TRTs work with, are they more short-term stays, or?
No, they would be the same too. And then I don't know if this is nationwide or what, but like we in long-term care here in Utah, we are seeing more and more mental illnesses in buildings instead of dementia and rehab.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think this is a good idea. And so I think it's just a modified version of the program that you developed for your project and that you're measuring in your project. So I think that this is okay, where you can kind of double dip on something you've already done, as long as you're not doing the same thing for this class, which it doesn't sound like you would be. You're modifying that program for use with people with different credentials.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Anybody? The pressure's on. Dun, dun, dun. Not really, but.
I have
All
a
right,
question. Would it be okay to mix internal but not actually other departments? So it's in the same agency, but you are consulting for two separate departments that you aren't dictating anything.
Mm-hmm.
Be managing, and then also a third party like client group within that.
All at once? All those different entities at once?
Well, I was asked by forestry to help out with help them with rigging for doing an arborist program, which then turned into I hooked them up with our inclusion services department, and then it kind of turned into an aerial dance type thing in the trees. So I was wondering if I could use that because the consulting comes in, and to be honest, I was hoping to use an operational procedure that I'm still developing, but it's consulting on the rigging part and the client care portion of that. So the SOP is about circulation, ambulation, like monitoring the well-being of the people who are in the air.
So there needs to be some protocol in place for how to do that, and you're developing that?
Correct. And there needs to be someone to bridge. So the technical piece, there needs to be that to be taught. and put together like some sort of plan. And then there needs to be somebody bridging all the pieces. So like forestry is really good at the tree stuff and getting people into the air, but an inclusion service is good with people and connecting with community groups and that sort of thing. And the community group in particular that they're interested in is Very Special Arts, and that's a visual arts group. So yeah, being able to be that go-between that connects them and their ideas.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, potentially this could be a consulting project. The key in thinking about all of your projects is that they are completable in the next 3-ish months.
Cool.
So if, I don't know what that timeline looks like, if there's expectations that they have put on you about when things would be finished or not. But it's to some degree has to be able to be completed to complete degree, it's got to be finished in this semester. So I would say tentatively yes.
Cool.
For now. Okay, so some of you guys don't have projects like rolling off the tip of your tongue right now, and that's okay. But hopefully by next week you've got at least 1, if not 2 or 3 total ideas, and that we could just continue to flesh out. But in just the last 15 or 20 minutes of class here, I just want to look at what we're going to be working on over the next few weeks as you develop these ideas. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, move out of the way, all you stuff. Okay, so here's some examples of projects. I'll post this PowerPoint. You guys can read through kind of all these notes here. But so the first step that we really have to do is create the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement, the contract. And what this does is really outlines all of this information. Who are the involved parties? So obviously you as the consultant, but who at the facility is your go-to person? Is it only 1 person? Is it 2 people? Is it 10 people? It should not be 10 people, because it's like the more cooks in the kitchen, the messier things get, right? So there's definitely a good number of people that you want involved, and more is not better. What is the purpose of this project? So to develop a protocol to reduce falls in a long-term care setting, or to develop a program, or to implement a needs assessment, or to implement a program evaluation like an IPA or whatever. What are the deliverable products? A program, a report, an evaluation, a protocol, et cetera, et cetera. So it might be something as simple as that, but it seems as simple as that, but remember that that's a very involved product that you're producing at the end. When I finished my project with the National Ability Center, I had an executive report spiral bound with like a little clear thingy, and I handed it to him and I gave him this presentation. That's all considered deliverable products. So the report and a presentation to the board. So what are your roles and responsibilities as the student consultant? So what tasks are going to be completed and who's going to be completing those. So that's really student and client roles and responsibilities. What's the schedule and completion dates for all of the tasks, and then the total project at the end. So it's got to be by December, whatever that last week is, okay? So not December 12th, because I think that's our last day of class, like finals week, last day of class. So I would say at least the week before there that most of the actual doing of the project is done. And at that point, you're just writing up, final things. Let's see. A confidentiality clause. That's a part of everything. Every project I've ever done, there's some element there where you won't discuss things about the company with people in the company or the project or people outside of the company. The facility, there's obviously, and when you're interacting with individual clients, patients at facilities, and asking them their opinions about services or whatever, that's all confidential. And then of course, signatures of those involved. So that includes you and your person at the site, but don't get that signature yet until I give you feedback on your MOA. Ultimately, the signature, will be on the final thing you turn in, but you should get the signature after I give you feedback, before you start doing lots of stuff for them.
And you said you had examples.
Yep. And it's already in Canvas under example MOAs. Oh, look at that. Dun, 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 dun. And I'll upload pieces of it as we go. You know, I don't want to kind of bombard you with all of that, but here's an example. So, and honestly, you can use the sentences and the way things are phrased exactly in the examples, and it's okay, because that's the best way. And there might be, when you work this out with your facility or your site, people are like, well, I want to change this a little bit, and that's okay. It's all a negotiation. So if something gets changed, if you send this to your contact and they change a bunch of things and you get it back and you don't understand what they changed it to, or you don't agree, you can always come and talk to me about it and we can come up with a plan. And so I feel like I'm kind of a consultant for you guys as you guys consult to other people. So feel free to come and bounce ideas off of me. You can do it in class or you can email me at any point. In terms of MOAs and how to kind of construct them, bullet points are very useful because I hate to say this, but people don't want to read stuff. You know, they just want to be able to look and say, okay, this is what I'm going to get, and this is what I have to do. So very text-heavy types of MOAs are not awesome. So bullet point format is a better way to kind of get all that text out there. Just here's the deliverables. There's the roles and responsibilities, client roles and responsibilities, the timeline of when everything will be done, and then all of that at the end. So all of this ends up being like 2-ish pages, 3 at most. Not too bad. But now having said that, I think MOAs are doing like, your first MOA is doing like 4 weeks, week 4, I think. So we don't have a lot of time to just like let it slowly come together. You got to be working on it right away. So get that idea moving.
Jasmine, do you want us to use that template that you're showing?
Yeah, and there'll be other examples other than this horribly chopped up one for PowerPoint in the folder. You can use those exact templates if you want.
Okay.
Here's an example of the deliverable. So where does it say up here, deliverables? Maps of running and walking routes on and around the APH campus at distances of 1/2 mile, 1 mile, 2 mile, specific star counts. I don't understand what any of this is, but if you look at this, here's their 1/2 mile, 1 mile, 2 mile, and it looks like they maybe used Google Maps to, like the student who did this, used Google Maps to kind of establish those routes and took pictures, but this is probably like a foldable brochure that they actually did print out and make. You know, you don't have to make hundreds of copies, so it's not like I'm expecting you guys to spend crazy money on this or anything, but one photo, you know, photo quality or colored copy is not going to break the bank for your project. Maybe it was a front and back here type of a thing. So they provided resources, and all of that is in that deliverables. Okay, so for next week, hone that idea down or develop an initial idea. Okay, if you didn't offer something in class, and that's okay. I know this is a lot. If you've already got something working in your mind, project-wise, that you really want to start and hit the ground running, go ahead and start putting together the pieces of that MOA and come prepared to talk about it. So before class, I would like you guys to think of, develop a list of your strengths and areas that need improvement. So highlight areas that you have the most interest and knowledge. What are the skills you have to offer? How might you translate these into a consultant's role? So this goes along with the readings that we have over the next few weeks in terms of strengths and weaknesses of strengths of consultants and areas that we could all improve on. We have to be able to identify those things in ourselves. And if I know that I'm really bad at this, then I'm going to maybe incorporate that somewhere into my MOA where somebody else could cover that. If I'm a horrible communicator, I refuse to use technology in a calendar, maybe somebody else should manage a timeline. have due dates. Maybe I shouldn't be a consultant, but that's a different story. All right. So any questions so far? I know that was like a ton of stuff. This class, once it really gets going and you get moving on your projects, is really fun. And every week we'll talk about elements of our projects and we'll provide each other feedback and insight and what we think about it. So you really get to know each other's projects really well.
I have a question about the reading assignments.
Yes.
The 6 that we choose. So do we just write a document, like a page or two, and then upload it? Or is it more of a discussion board?
Nope, it's just 3 questions, comments, thoughts about the reading, similar to what we're doing in 8710, but less discussion-y, since no one will read them except for me.
Okay. All right, and that needs to be in the noon before class that day. Okay. All right, and so a page is good.
What's that?
Like a page is good.
You can just type it directly into Canvas. You don't have to upload a document.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought I saw a submit button, but okay.
No, I mean, I think it gives you a submit option, but you don't have to attach anything.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
And so honestly, I mean, I probably won't answer your questions in writing in the commentaries. It'll be factored into class.
Okay.
So it's more, I don't want to say busy work, but it's a little bit of busy work. We ensure that readings are being completed. All right. Let me know if you guys have any questions about anything. Feel free to email. Classes will be posted. There will be in the discussions is the only place where there will be a discussion. It'll be a permanent thread that will have all of our recorded classes. There will be a link there. Well, actually, it'll just look like a YouTube video with a little red arrow, and you just hit that. So that's where all the recordings will be.
Am I wrong? But I didn't see any reading assignments for this following week that we'll discuss in class, correct?
Yeah, I don't think we have any.
Okay, thank you.
Just, yeah.
There's one about your strengths.
So will you start a discussion forum for the strengths and weaknesses list, or do you want us to submit that in another?
That's just bring that to class on your own. That's not like a graded thing, but in order to engage in the conversation next week, you need to have that done.
So
since I won't be here, do you want me to email it to you?
Sure. Oh, that's right. You told me about that. Yes.
Is the strength and weakness thing not considered one of the commentaries since it's not reading?
It's not a commentary.
Okay.
So there's no option for commentaries.
Nope.
Okay.
No options for commentaries next week. All right. Go team. Have a good night. Pause.